Welcome, Tony. It's so great to see you again. I appreciate you taking your time to chat with me about season three of Motherland, our noted final season of Motherland.
Woo! I mean, like, it's like exciting and also bittersweet. Um, it sure was when we were filming, and I'm so excited to be here to talk.
Yes, we were waiting with you all filming, and then now that everything is kind of airing right now, there's this, like you said, sense of bittersweetness. There's a sense of like hope still. There's a sense of happiness. There's a sense of like what is gonna go on because this is where
hmm
everything amps up. Like the intensity is now. Here's where the season really kicks itself into gear because there's no time to waste really at this point.
hmm
So,
hmm
with everything for season three, it's like a mix of emotions for us to watch, and then apparently a mix of emotions as well for you all on the opposite side of stuff as well.
Yeah, even watching it, I mean, we're done filming, but watching it now, I think I feel that bittersweetness that perhaps, the audience is feeling because it's the last part of it, having been involved in the process of making it, and then you watch it afterwards, and not to think, oh yeah, we're about to see episode 8 of 10. That's episode 28 of 30. Um, and to think that, yeah, at episode 30, this is it. This is, and it's been such a incredible show for myself to be part of, to watch what it stands for, the stories, that yeah, it's an emotional ride.
We've gotten to watch your character Adil kind of grow, mature, of course, on screen as well, but kind of how has that sort of carried for you too off screen in a sense as well?
Yeah, that's a
Of
great
your
question.
life, part of
hmm
this.
Yeah, it's a really great question. Thanks for asking. And I got really attached to Adil because I think a lot of his journey of being kind of an immigrant or refugee resonated with me. I think myself having come to Canada in my teens, I related a lot to Adil's struggles of wanting to fit in, not knowing how, um, feeling different and wanting to stand for your values, but yet, how is it that you find the balance of also having to sometimes, um, not necessarily suppress them, but keep quiet in order to conform to be part of something bigger? And those things take time. And we've seen with Adele now that in season 3. To me, Adele has become part of the unit, has started to find a really strong sense of belonging that he had left when he first came into the show. He left his culture, his family, his roots, and so for him to find that is really heartwarming to watch. But also for myself, yet it has made me reflect on where am I at in my life, and starting to find spaces that I feel that I really belong, because I think the narrative of the outcast for me I've always related to.
Well, he certainly has expanded the with the women around him as well. He's always had his sister, who he can turn to, but she also she's a much older soul, but a much younger lady,
hmm
young woman.
yeah. And then big personality and very assertive with the decisions she makes, and it's like you said, I think that wisdom that Adele doesn't necessarily have, or that understanding of what she has to do for the greater good, following Alder, leaving her brother behind. But, I think Adele has maybe less emotional maturity, and it's really difficult to see your little sister go away into the mycelium when you don't really have any guarantee of what's going to happen. And Alder, there's been some trepidations, and it's always not how it hasn't always been the most trustworthy relationship between Alder and Adil. So um it's it's really difficult, and you know, no matter what, no matter how wise Kalita is, she still is Adil's little baby sister, and that, you know, I think the protective instinct is always going to be there.
It was some really really beautiful work. I've only seen up to eight, but from what we've seen so far, and of course over the years as well, you know, your work with Kylie has been really beautiful and nurturing to watch that relationship develop between you, of course, on screen, and then you know, getting to watch this bond over the last 4 years too between the two of you, and and see sort of that kind of reflected in both ways. It's been such a such a sweetness.
And she's so incredible, you know, little Kylie. She's even just talking about her now, you know, it warms my heart. I miss her. I miss her a lot. You know, the she was one of the toughest goodbyes for me on the show. You know, I think I grew to have a really strong bond with her, and in a way, I think very much of a sibling relationship. You know, I think what the relationship we had on screen reflect, or maybe affected our relationship off screen, and yeah, she's such a little sweetheart that I just that I miss, and but I can't wait to see what's gonna come next for her.
She's I had a chance to speak to her recently, and she's just so bubbly and sweet, and we talk about Kalita being kind of wise but beyond her years too, but Kylie's on the same wavelength in a lot of ways as well. And um I I know that she's also someone who likes to learn as well. And
Hmm.
she was talking about like advice that like Amalia had given her, and like advice that she kind of learned acting from a little bit of everyone in a sense as well, because I guess this is like also one of her first jobs as well.
Hmm.
So she seems like someone who enjoys kind of soaking up that kind of advice, soaking up that kind of knowledge, and of course really just kind of learning along the way from so many incredibly talented people. I'm like, if she had a project, this is her first project. She got to basically learn from a lot of incredibly creative, diverse, professionally special, you know, wealth of talented of people. So she gets to learn some from Lynn, who is just you know, and inimitable Lynn. And yeah, we talk about your work together, and getting to work with Ashley. And you know, this season obviously you guys have gotten to kind of expand as well through like more of the core of the group, rather than just kind of like the two of you together in a way. So you know, she was also talking about how she got to talk to Bob and learning from
Hmm.
Bob to someone who's also quite Shakespeareanly in his charisma, and the way that he works with his acting as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, Kylie, yeah, she's so talented and so hungry, and also at the same time, also she's, I mean, her and I, we're always goofing around. I mean, in between takes, we either be doing karate or rap battles. Like I'm not kidding her, because we kind of both got into karate at the same time, and so we'd goof around, and then you know, one of us, or sometimes one of us would beatbox, and then the other one would make like really bad rhymes. Which will ever be
Oh,
shared, but
uh,
that was you know, that's what I mean too about, you know, the sibling relationship, that for me it went so beyond just the professional aspect of, okay, like how do we figure out this scene, but we're just goofing around.
yes, has shared some TikTok. She's been very reserved with her behind the scenes TikToks of stuff this season, but to know that she has some stuff on the back burner maybe, or the holding out on us, I get it. I get it. This season we got to see a lot of different themes as well explored, and we talk about the relationships of like Kalita and Adele, and of course there's Petra and Abigail, the sense of family. And I wanted to ask a little bit about how the theme or the sense of family in regard to Adil, especially, has kind of really changed and evolved for them. And this concept of what family is, what family, the idea of what a family is.
I think it's been, it's a difficult transition to have to leave one's family not out of a choice, out of a catastrophe. And then, because it's one thing to be welcomed into a new place or amongst people, but I think to accept that and to allow yourself to be open again, to being embraced, to being, really held. I think once you've experienced a lot of pain, that's really difficult. And so seeing, I think for me with Adil coming into third season, it was this trepidatious transition back into, to what it's like to discover this new family and to discover what it's like to have support again, and to, I think it brings about an immense amount of joy, as well as a certain also sorrow of grieving his own losses. When you're welcomed into a new relationship, it makes you reflect on the things that you used to have that maybe he suppressed, because it's too hard to really face. And so I think there's been a lot of little moments, for Adil to appreciate that, and at the same time I think to grieve his old life and move into a newer one with the unit, with Abigail, with Petra. Um, it's so it's been, I think it's a very beautiful transition and new beginning, a rebirth in a way.
You saw the scene of Adil and Abigail coming back to Fort Salem, and then this hug of Petra and Abigail, and then like Petra, leaning it, kind of like leaning, like begging, or beckoning for Adil to come into, and as Adil is kind of standing off, like, oh, I'm gonna let the mom and daughter kind of have their reunion, and she's like, no, no, you come in here too, like, that's an embrace of family and love, and just what this definition just continues to be, and the concept of family. And talk about the unit, we talk about Kalita and Adil and Abigail and Petra, and obviously the dynamic of the sisterhoods of the of things as well. So um, the way that family has kind of evolved, and obviously the saying, family isn't always blood. Family isn't always blood. It's the people we bring into our circles, or the people who we want as our family or choose as our family. We can't always pick the people we're born with, but we can pick the people who we want to surround ourselves with and make a family of our own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, yeah, in a way, I see Adil as he accepts and chooses, to be welcomed in as well. It's not just doing what Petra expects of him or what Abigail expects of him, but it's, giving space. But and in that, even that little moment that you mentioned, yeah, it is. You never want to, when you're in somebody else's family, you want to be welcomed, but also you want to respect the relationships that are already established. And how do you go about that? And I think that, because you always feel a little bit on the outside of it, unless the people really bring you in as their own. And I think that's what Adil gets to experience with Petra um, and Abigail. And it's I think there's no other feeling like you belong, like you're part of something.
Well, in the very beginning of the season, we start off with Dwight and Shelby, and our favorite romantic moment of amongst the papers and shuffling of everything. Adele and Abigail, Dwight and Shelby, have this really important kind of conversation, or at least a romantic uh, sort of escape, in a sense, as much as they can in that moment. So um, it's nice to think about how they're, at least Adele in that moment, is planning a future and thinking out a future, a possible future among something that they're going through that they don't know if there even is going to be a
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, in the you know, it's been so nice to have that moment. I mean, there's been so little of it. I mean, in the chaotic world that it is, you know, and I think it's hard to find moments of peace and bliss and romantic love. You know, I think, and that's any world I think we live in. You know, I think even the world of today, uh, as a quick tangent, you know, with all this stuff that's happening, like, how do you find still the time to escape and to remember, you know, these little moments of making each other feel special and to talk about the future, and I'm so glad that Abigail and Adele have that little pocket of hope, that pocket of imagination to work towards something that is not just fighting off the Camarilla, right? There is also a hope to, oh, you know, what could it look like afterwards? And I think that's something, you know, to remember to fight for, you know, the love of the greater good, but also the love that you have for the people. Um, and I think that's such a beautiful battle to have, you know, the battle of the heart for all, but also for the close ones.
Hope is a huge signifier this season. I feel like it's season three is, I've been telling everyone, is quite Dickinsonian, at least in my opinion.
It's quite
Um,
what, sorry?
Dickinsonian.
Well, I'm not familiar with that word.
Oh, like Emily Dickinson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In the sense of, she has this poem, "Hope is the thing with feathers,"
Mm.
and that's my parallel, Dickinsonian in
Yeah.
the sense of Emily Dickinson.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I feel like it really gets hit on by all the people essentially that we were focused on this season. Um, and I also found a lot of parallels myself because I am of the Jewish faith. This season strikes a lot of resonance with me as well in a lot of different aspects. And you're talking about this relationship with, you know, Adele and Abigail, and finding hope, and thinking of a future amongst some dire times. The
Hmm.
same episode, we see Kalita teaching the children Manishe, and the fact of, you know, having to keep tradition and pass that tradition along, and that, you know, hope being and knowledge being powerful forces that people can never take away from you either.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's so important for us to hold on to, you know, our history. You know, I think our identity cannot be disconnected from our history. Even though I think we move on from that, and we build from that, but to always remember and honor those that came before us, I think is so important. And I'm really glad, yeah, you pointed out to this little note of Kalita, you know, passing on that knowledge. And you know, and also the devastation when the Camarilla come on Fort Salem and, you know, and ban those classes. You know, I think that's definitely reflecting something much bigger, which is sometimes the, you know, the genocide of certain cultures, or like trying to stop the knowledge being passed down. But I think for us to all hold on to who we are is really important, to then come into a space where we can honor differences, you know, and have a society that is full of nuances as opposed to all the same.
Well, the conversation from Adil and Abigail kind of shifts as we get a little bit further into the season, and it becomes Yule, and things there kind of sort of change in a way, or open up in a way. And there's this obviously shared moment with the mistletoe, and some fun dancing for you. We got to see sort of like also a little behind the scenes tease, um, but I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what it was like for you getting to film that specific scene, and just kind of allow yourself to have again, a happier moment or another moment that is of the present, that you can sort of celebrate a holiday that you might not have, or at least within the circumstances, again, like, and the parallels as well, of being
Hmm.
able to celebrate like holidays and traditions and things, and being mindful of those moments and
Hmm. No, it
carrying those,
was.
and the importance of carrying those on as well.
No, it was. I mean, yeah, It was incredible, to be exposed to Yule and to that type of celebration. But when it comes to the dancing specifically, it was incredible, and I think talking about honoring who we are, or where we're from. For me, I come from a dance background, and when it was a surprise. The creators never told me, oh, what do you think of putting in a dance, whatnot. I received the script, and people were saying, oh, can't wait to see this and that, and I was like, what are you talking about? Then I read the script, and it was so exciting, and it is also in another way that I felt welcomed into this production, as not just what we're talking about for Adele, but also for myself, that they then look at, oh, what is Tony's history? How do we celebrate that? Um, and it was so much fun to then, as soon as I remember going into rehearsal, and I had just so many references and ideas that we worked together with the choreographer. Because really want to think, okay, Adele comes from more of an Eastern background, ethnically and culturally, but yet he's part of a Western society now, and he's been that for a while. So how do you mesh the two? It was so much fun, and then to bring also that aspect of, I think, a certain confidence or a certain wooing, um, which I think we all uh, relate to this idea of being wooed or wanting to woo someone. Uh, that it was a lot of fun.
Also, in that episode, you got to work a lot more with Cheryl Lee Ralph and Michael Horse, and Catherine Lohagquist was explaining to me about the stories that they both would tell on set while you all were filming, and I wanted to ask a little bit about what what you can share, or what you would like to share about getting to film with our dream girl Cheryl,
Oh
and
my
Michael,
god.
who is just an incredibly magnanimous, and again, formidably talented person as well. Who they both have such incredible careers, and um, so I
Hmm.
just kind of wanted to ask a little bit about your time spent amongst these
Yeah,
two legends.
yeah. Well, Michael Horst was super chill from the first day. He was just like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Yeah, like we were just kind of kicking it with him. He was such a nice guy to hang out with. And when he came back from Christmas holiday, he got everybody these really necklaces and bracelets, and these beautiful little jewelry, and he was always in a good mood, always up for a chat. And, he kind of just says what he thinks, and I think he's got a lot of dignity,
Mhm.
um, a lot of values also that he cares about, but in a very kind way. It's never like trying to force that upon anyone. So that was a really great experience. And then Cheryl Lee Ralph, oh yeah, Lisa, she, I mean, it's one thing to watch her perform. She's so powerful, so present, so full of life. But my story actually was at one point I was sitting in the green room, or in the tent, and usually for me I keep to myself. I'm reading a book. I'm not too social on set, and she was sitting right next to me. I'm reading, kind of feeling shy, and I'm reading, and then at one point she looks over at me. She's like, "What you reading?" And I tell her, "Oh, I'm just reading a book," and it was about a book about relationships. And she looks at me. She says, "What have you learned from the book?" and then I start going into concepts, saying, oh, well, opposites very important, and this book talks about the importance of intimacy and how to cultivate that. She's like, no, 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 I'm not asking you for a summary. It's like, what did you learn? And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, it just comes down to respect and honoring, your spouse or your partner. And then we get into a little bit of a conversation that ends. And then the next day we get to set, and at one point, we get to set, and like she grabs my face at one point. She's like, I've been thinking about you. And I'm like, I've been thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. And then, about what she had said. But, and then we get into, another conversation, and she says, she says, as she grabs my face, she says, you have to hold on to your heart. You have to hold on to your heart, and then as we're talking, and at one point I said, some of the conversations that we've had, made me reflect on this, like, certain fears I have around within relationships, but also I think in life, around taking chances, around making, sometimes I'm so afraid to make a fool of myself, or I feel so inadequate. And she stops me, she looks at me, she says, you're young. You're supposed to be inadequate. You're supposed to make mistakes. And it's just it's a bold, loving presence that she had, or that she has, that I've been so lucky to experience. She's right there with you and gives you so much care, but then also not afraid to gear you in the right direction. And so it was, I think, she left a mark on me.
She is a powerful force in every sense of the concept and sentiment for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, you talk about, like, obviously, like, her cadence and like, presence, but the way that she is just um someone who is so giving of herself, and also someone who is just so learned too, so wise, and to impart something on someone else is to leave that imprint, and
Mm-hmm.
that imprint will stay with you, and then maybe you'll pass it on to someone else, and that all starts from Cheryl. And she is that we talk about, again, like, incredible women, just
Mm-hmm.
again surrounded by incredible women, and she is of the highest caliber for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about that.
I know you said that you read your book in the green room, but again, Bob was telling me that there was a time where the lot of, like, you and Amalia and he were just, like, reading Shakespeare together and
Oh yeah.
performing Shakespeare, that, like, it was just like I forget specifically, but which ones, but he is just like, in, I guess, maybe in the wee hours that he remembered that you all just had, like, this insatiable in need to perform Shakespeare together.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I remember that actually. And obviously, when I say I read my book a lot, I mean, I was on set also, you're on there 14 hours.
Right.
So I'm not looking to, and as there's a lot of waiting, I'm not gonna read for 10 hours of the day, that's, yeah, I got into Shakespeare actually, I think at the beginning of the season, and I knew that Bob was, he's a big Shakespeare connoisseur, and he's performed it in so many places, and uh, such incredible use of language, and we go on Christmas holiday, and then we come back to filming in January, and I'm catching up with Bob, and there's a bunch of other actors, but him and I are just having a one-on-one, more intimate conversation, and I say, hey Bob, over the holiday, I learned the to be or not to be speech. He says, oh, cool, cool, cool. And then he says, yeah, recite it. Why don't you recite it for us? And also I'm like, what? And it was a day where we had most of the cast, so there must have been, I don't know, 7 or 8 um, cast members. So I feel like put on the spot, and in a lot of ways I feel quite shy. I'm like, okay, and I started the speech. I'm like, to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler to suffer the slings and arrows, blah blah blah. And then as I'm going, and then just as I'm saying it, Rothgard, who plays Rael's Color's
Edwin, yeah.
father, Edwin, all of a sudden I'm delivering this speech, and all of a sudden he just jumps in. On certain lines, and then because who would bear the whips and scorns of time, and then he just jumps in on top of it, and we're having this exchange, and we're all just it was an incredible experience. To share, amongst actors, to geek over one of the most celebrated writers of our, in history. It was a very nerdy and fun moment.
We've talked about your relationship with Kylie, and we've talked about your on-screen relationship between Dylan and Abigail. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, if comfortable, to talk about your relationship with Ashley.
Yeah.
And obviously the 4 years again, that you two have kind of spent together with these characters, with this relationship, and just wanted to ask a little bit about kind of what you might have taken away from your work getting to be partners with Ashley. And again, we talk about someone who's I just keep saying it over and over again, like, the women on this series are just spectacular, and her work and your work together have really had so much meaningfulness, and has become something special for the fandom as well. So
Mm.
wanted to just ask a little bit about kind of what you've taken away from getting to be partners with her professionally, and personally, the relationship that kind of has gotten to develop between the two of you over the past 4 years.
Yeah, she's a force of nature, and I remember when I first met her on set in season 1, as we were shooting episode 6, and I was taken aback. I'm like, holy, who is this? Who's this young woman, And I remember telling her when we were in the car, and I can't remember if I've shared this before, but I remember saying to her after the first day we filmed on set, it was just her and I in the car, and I said, like, you have so much light and love in you, and and me being here, I just want to do whatever I can to celebrate that. And working with her for 3 years has been incredible. I've learned so much from her, how bold she is, how fearless and courageous she is. Um, it was making a series comes with a lot of challenges, um, and for anybody, but for somebody of her age, early 20s, who's abroad, not home, she's by herself in this, different city during COVID, so people can't really visit, and for her to take that on and show up every day on set with so much professionalism, with always, being having her lines ready. I know she works her ass off. It was really inspiring, and that's what I took, from working with her, and also, and she goes around so much, on set. It was just like with TikToks, and her and I always had fun banter, and I think it was yeah, a really, really positive experience, and in moments of personal struggles, in our own lives throughout it. I think it was really nice to have each other's support, to be able to lean on each other, to talk, to whatever came up each day. Because when you're filming a series, it's pretty unpredictable.
We only have a few more episodes to go, but there has been just the most beautiful outpouring for a relationship, and again, I mentioned how meaningful it has been to watch the development that we've gotten to see for Abigail,
Hmm.
and of course getting to see certain glimpses of behind the scenes between you and Ashley as well, and just the fun sassiness that the both of you get to share and exchange together. Obviously, again, that's a glimpse of things that we get to witness and not to take away from um, the things that you share publicly. I know there's obviously stuff that you share personally together, but just from a fan side of things, I wanted to say thank you so much for your beautiful work between you and Ashley that we've gotten to see blossom and really mature as well, and just become a really important form of representation also in
Mm.
community.
Thanks for saying that.
Well, another romance that we haven't talked about is the Adorio
Oh my
romance.
God.
We saw the blossoming of the Adorio romance in season two. Uh, is Adorio going strong? will we will we have this bromance once again? Maybe.
Adorio is always going strong in our hearts, even if it's not
Oh,
happening, you know, in what do you call it, like in the physical sense.
right.
It's always in the heart. Um, yeah, I love him to death. It's such a great actor, such a great individual. And I don't know what's to come for the next few episodes. We're just gonna have to be patient and see.
Is with the finale coming up in the next couple of episodes, we say, is there something that you're going to be doing special for the end cap of everything, or something maybe personally that you kind of have already maybe done as like an end to this type of chapter for yourself in a sense?
Oh, myself personally, Tony.
Yes, yourself personally, Tony. Like, is there something, where you're gonna have like a party or something to watch, or is there something that you've already kind of done, kind of like to kind of say, goodbye to Adele in a way, or
Oh, in that sense. Uh, I don't know about. I mean, for me, yeah. Now that the filming's done, it's funny watching it again. It's bittersweet, and a lot of things were happening during the filming that when it finished, it was like, okay, boom, it's done. Oh, whoa, what? Okay, I guess we're all back to our regular lives. It was quite sudden, um, but I treated myself. I got my motorcycle license and I got a motorcycle, and then I went on a long trip. The trip that made this conversation much later than we wanted it to be. I went on a
okay.
6 week trip to Europe. So those are the ways that it was kind of for myself, Tony. Yeah, I don't know about. I kept some clothing pieces. I went to that costume sales, and I was just like, "Give me the goods," because there were some really nice pieces that the costume team put together. But I'm not sure yet. I haven't had a formal goodbye with Adil, because I think in a way he'll always be with me. But it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet.
Well, to sort of switch, we've talked about your dance background some, and I again get to watch your beautiful movements when you share certain Insta stories or
Mm,
post to your page. So and also beyond with, of course, the tie to the show with the first song of sorts and things. But they say that music is therapy, and I wanted to ask, what does music kind of mean to you, and how do you find catharsis in that, whether it's through dance or a movement of or just in listening or expression in that way?
mm. Yeah, both, both through listening and through dancing. I think it's an incredible, incredible tool for expressing a lot of things that words can't ever touch on. And I think as beautiful and nuanced and profound language can be, I think there's still something about our experience that is more raw than that, that nothing can really touch. And I think music is a uh, great launch into that, or great way to move into emotions that that are so beautifully felt and not necessarily said. And for me, I do, yeah. Sometimes I listen to music a lot, whether that's the more calmer, emotional, cinematic music, or just songs that I want to belt when I'm driving. Or also, yeah, dancing helps a lot for me. It was a great way to express certain thing when certain feelings come up. Now I'll pay attention to it, play music, and dance it out. And it's yeah, music like is something else. Love it.
I get to watch your stories, and then there's just an eloquence when I see you move, and um, it's a poetry, it's beauty, it's every descriptive word I can think of in a
No,
way.
thanks.
So I definitely enjoy watching when we get to see these little like clips of you, black and white, or whatever emotion may be. There's definitely a beautiful eloquence to what we get to watch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
Well, I also have seen some other posts and things that you've shared that have been kind of avant-garde in a way, and your work, that you have this great expressionism that we talk about. Um, you have a documentary, and you shared this beautiful video of butterflies recently as
Mm.
well, and wanted to kind of ask about a little bit about what kind of fuels your passion and that creative side, and what may you're working on maybe next, or stuff more organic for you that uh, comes with your next expressionism.
Mm. No, I do. Yeah, I find just certain aspects of life so beautiful. I mean, I think life in general is so complex, and I mean, no need to have a conversation about that. But I love moments, or and trying to capture. I love poetry because to me it captures moments, the abstract aspect of a moment, and sometimes I get little sparks of. Or I'll just, like the video with the butterflies. I was just going for a walk, and I saw that, I filmed it, and then I was listening to some music, watching it. I'm like, oh, maybe that's neat. And then trying to think about what is it, what I want to talk about, or something, what is it what's something that feels true to me right now. Um, and so that, you create something, and sometimes it turns out, a lot of stuff that I create too doesn't turn out, and you just don't post it. um, and or the documentary, it came about through meeting someone and hearing their story, and I was just wanted to pursue that. It was because I am a filmmaker, I guess, because I make films, but it's never something that I seek to be. I think it just, when something compelling comes up, and I'm thinking, well, people need to hear this, and that documentary came about that way when I met somebody who shared her story about with her name, um, and the fact that she had changed her name because she was picked on a lot. I was thinking, wow, that's sounds really difficult. And that document now has has gone on the festival route, and we've had a lot of success with it, and we're planning for a release of it most likely in the fall. And so I'm prepping for a lot of that. That's taking up a lot of my time, trying to figure out a release campaign and whatnot. And I'm still acting, actually loving Shakespeare. I'd love to get back to the stage, but then also with my management, we're seeing what opportunities come up, and I'm gonna go with and see about what could come next. That is interesting.
Well, my last question is there anything else then that we didn't talk about or touch on that you want to say or say to the fans for 3 seasons worth of uh, love and spirit?
Yeah, I think I want to say thank you to all the fans. It's Motherland was my first bigger production, and to have been witness and to the love that it's received, it's like hardcore fans, and there's nothing like it. There's I think the way that people interact and believe in the show and support the show. Thank you. I just want to say thank you. It makes all the work that we do so much more rewarding.